Hello and welcome to a special presentation of In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup. It's the first of our In the Money Horseplayers Tour updates. If you don't know about the In the Money Horseplayers Tour, well, you should, because this is the best way to win a Breeders' Cup betting challenge seat. Two ways to do it. Every Friday we have these games. $20 it costs to play. That house cut goes to charity, by the way. And then two ways to win. The Friday game is a traditional feeder into a direct qualifier on Saturday. So you've got that option. On the audio side, I actually spoke to a man who punched his ticket that way, John Gasper. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you check that out in themoneypodcast.com or in the Money Players Podcast, wherever you get your pods. But the other way you can win a BCBC seat in these feeder contests, you just have to finish in the first four any week. Then you punch your ticket to our playoffs, where those players will compete at the end of the year, and one of them will win a $10,000 BCBC seat at no additional cost. That's $10,000 in the pot at no cost to you. Great opportunity here. Want to take a second before we get down to business of talking about the Friday races at Saratoga. Big Stakes going to be part of our Friday contest this week. Want to congratulate the people who've advanced to our playoffs so far on this In the Money Horseplayers Tour. They are Sean O'Malley, Robin Busser, Rick Broth, a former KDBC winner, actually has two entries already into our playoffs. You can win up to three, only one in a given week. So he's been hot, has Rick Broth. Our buddy Kieran Thornton has punched his ticket as well. Anthony Buzza, I'm not quite sure how Anthony pronounces that, but we'll go with the Italian one. Togo Travaglia, Fabian Sultan has two entries already. John Bush, Julie LeBoyko, great to see her name on there. Matt Miller of Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge Championship fame is another one. Mike Probozzi, In the Money's own. Dylan Donnelly, accomplished contest player, one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, as well, is on there. Gregory Lewis and Daniel Edwards. Lots of people getting a chance to get involved in this year's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge through the In the Money Horseplayer Tour. Now, speaking of the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, one of the men who has the best resume in that event with two second-place finishes in big full fields. We bring him in now. You know him from all the work he does here at In the Money Media. He's Jonathon Kinchen. What's up, JK?
PTF, it's I think I'm dodging the dodgy hotel Wi-Fi. I actually did a speed test here at Hotel Brookmere, where I'll be staying for the summer. Speed tested the internet. It's like 200 megabytes per second.
Nice.
In like 400 up, or 200 up and 400 down, or 200 down and 400 up. That's pretty damn good for a hotel. We should be okay.
You got to pay attention when those hotels, and you can actually get some work done in them. As for our work on this show, we're eventually going to be getting to these 4 stakes races at Saratoga that are sort of the anchor of our Friday contest. But before we look forward, I want to look back. I want to look back at the Fleur De Lis, specifically a Breeders' Cup champion in Thorpedo Anna, punching her ticket for that event once again. This is a win and you're in race this year. Thorpedo Anna hadn't really looked the same earlier this season, but in the Fleur De Lis, this was a return to form. A nice, strong buyer speed figure, a very impressive effort from this beloved filly. Do we think that little blip is behind us, and now we have an opportunity to see her head towards the Breeders' Cup as potentially a favorite and maybe even a repeat champion?
She'll definitely come to the Breeders' Cup as a favorite. But that's where the conversation starts, is that, I think more than one thing can be true when we're looking at a thoroughbred or a race or a racehorse. And I think the same can be true about her. She's really cool. I'm a huge fan. I love watching her run. Her 3-year-old year was an outstanding year, especially for a 3-year-old filly, winning all the grade 1s, capping it off with the Breeders' Cup distaff. The problem is she is bet like she's as good as Rachel Alexandra, Beholder, Songbird, the list goes on. And unfortunately, she's not that good as those horses. She's a good horse. I'd love to own her. Her Travers is one of the most remarkable races in defeat I've seen with my own 2 eyes. The problem is that the public will continue to bet her like she's one of those 3 special fillies, and I think she's just a really darn good one. There's an opportunity to play against her. Her figures are not that fast. In almost every race she runs in, if there's another horse that's even close, I'm going to try to beat her because the price is always going to be right.
JK, leave it to you to be a dark cloud on a sunny day. I wanted to get a punchline in there for the end of the social clip, so I had to do that. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I think you really framed that very well. I'd like to think that the filly who ran that race in the Travers could walk through that door again, but I understand your skepticism from strictly a wagering point of view. From a sporting point of view, one of the great stories of the last couple of years, and we'll see if she can back it up. I mean, that Travers, I totally agree. I mean, I think about that. I think about Zenyatta going for back-to-back in the BCBC as two of the most impressive efforts in defeat I've ever seen. We got this horse player happy hour new version that we're calling the In the Money Horseplayer Tour happening on Friday, and we've got a great card of races at Saratoga. You're up in Saratoga now. How pumped are you for this season generally?
I'm always pumped. I mean, it's always when you cross the twin bridges. I don't try to pronounce it, whatever it is, the Kokakuska bridge.
Kosciuszko.
Okay. When you cross those bridges, unless you're coming from Montreal, you basically have to come that way to go to Saratoga. And so every time I've ever come, that's what I saw first. And every time you hit it, it still feels the same. It's still, it's an exciting place where I sum Saratoga up like, obviously there's the outside of racing side of it that's really fun, right? You have this really cool, quaint town in upstate New York where everything kind of revolves around racing and racing. The racing's who's who are running around. That's always fun. But as far as the racing is concerned, I feel like every day one of two things happens. One, you see a future superstar, or you see a superstar in almost every day of racing here at Saratoga. And that's what's exciting. The maiden races, you get to get excited and get interested. And then when it comes to the stakes races and as many as there is, you get to see really cool horses. Tomorrow, Friday, I'm going to get to see Zulu Kingdom, who is an unbelievable 3-year-old turf horse. I get to see a horse like New Century. And then coming into the Suburban this weekend, you get to see other horses that could be kind of thrusting themselves into the front to try to take on a horse like Fierceness a little bit later in the year. Or it's just a lot of fun to be able to see the superstars here. That's my favorite part of Saratoga.
Yeah, there could be a lot of Breeders' Cup preview action, really, in these races we're talking about. And it's a Friday. I mean, granted, not just any Friday, 4th of July here, but it's still very exciting. I'm pumped. We want folks to get involved. I'm expecting this contest to do very well. Horseplayers.com. Look for that ITM Horseplayers Tour, and you'll have an opportunity for just $20 to have these 2 ways to win into the BCBC and support charity while you're doing it. Equine Aftercare, specifically in the form of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, who do this such important work of accrediting the various aftercare organizations, and our friends over at Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. You can learn more about them and their mission over at inthemoneypodcast.com/horses. Let's get to the Manila, one of the races based on the star power you were describing. You're going to be particularly interested in talking about. Zulu Kingdom makes his return to the races in this spot. This is a 12-race contest. There's going to definitely be some prices along the way. Zulu Kingdom, is he I presume from what you said before, he is your top pick. Is he also a horse you'd play in a contest like this?
100%, especially in a race like this where tons of people are going to use the 5 Reagan's Wit, right? They're going to use this horse as an alternative. They're going to see the 7-2 morning line. And they're going to go, ooh, yeah, this is a nice alternative to Zulu Kingdom because I can't bet on favorites because I'm allergic to betting on chalk. Zulu Kingdom has a right to be undefeated. Chad has been masterfully trying to place this horse. I think he wants to keep him in shorter races, which is why you didn't see a horse like this entered in the Belmont Derby, right? The times he has run at a mile and a 16th, I think it was almost because he was forced because it was a grade 1, right? The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. He ran at a mile and a 16th because you got to do it, or at a mile, excuse me. At American Turf last time he ran a mile and a 16th. I think he wants to run in miles. You look at the Pennine Ridge, he scratched out of that race because it was off the turf. And then the Penn Mile, he scratched as well because of their ground has been a little tricky. I think he's sitting on a big race. I think he's the best 3-year-old turf horse, male turf horse in the country. And I'll take those free points while everyone else is reaching for a horse like Reagan's Wit, who last time was absolutely not the time to bet, but the time for Reagan's Wit to definitely win, or where Reagan's Wit was 1-2, like soft ground on Preakness Day.
Yeah, there was a great quote from Chad in the Racing Form in an interview with Dave Grenning about how he's campaigned Zulu Kingdom. And he said part of him suspects that as well as he ran last time, going the mile on the 16th, that the cut in the ground actually might have helped him and hurt some of the rivals. And his gut tells him that he doesn't really want to go much further than the mile. So there you have it. That's why he sort of used some feel. But, I'm going to trust Chad Brown in these situations. However, in a contest like this, I do worry that the points just won't be enough. It might be the kind of thing where to my mind, a couple of live long shots in here, you get more in just the place points for a long shot running second to Zulu than you get for him winning place. Absolute anchor for me in all my horizontals. But for the contest, I might take a reach if you were going to look at something at a price to get in. Obviously, it ain't Reagan's Wit based on your description. But is there something at a proper price that might be double digits you could see getting into the mix in a spot like this? You were stuck on mute. We got our first one in a while.
Good. Hey, it's how it's summertime. It's probably the first time it ever happened was probably at Saratoga. So why not have it happen here? I suppose uncatalyzed or revolutionary, the 6 and the 7 are horses that could be interesting. And they could probably be ignored a little bit. The other Chad Brown, you get this Miguel horse that's going to creep up a little bit as well. The 6 and the 7. So those would be the ones that I would use. I would not use Reagan's Wit. I would either use Zulu Kingdom to take the points and move on, or I would use a horse like Uncatalyzed or Revolutionary.
I'm with you on Revolutionary. Love the way this horse finished up last time, and there are certain pace scenarios here. If it goes wrong for Zulu Kingdom, it's probably because he goes too fast. So it might set up for a runner like Revolutionary. And even if he wins and burns off all the other speed, then I could see Revolutionary maybe finishing for second. The other one I'll give just a quick mention to, that if I were playing 3 entries, I might work onto a ticket, is the number 1 Maui Strong, who I feel like maybe just moved a little bit too fast last time. Going to be a huge price. I think Dale Romans has this one on the improve, and some of that improve might be masked by the attacking the fast pace last time. Just another idea for a horse I think is going to be 15-1. In terms of our horizontal approach to the race, we're in lockstep. Just wanted to make sure we name checked and number checked a couple of those longer prices for those who are looking to swing away. We move on to a race we already referenced. The path not taken for Zulu Kingdom is the Belmont Derby. Very interesting race year in and year out. We do have some foreign competition, not as much as we sometimes see. I was actually asking some connections when I was over in the UK and Ireland about who might be shipping. I guess it's never been trickier for these horses to come in to the States, given immigration concerns, etc. But it's great to see some European participation here. We're going to see it at an event like the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, too big to miss. But I wonder if we'll see a few fewer shippers throughout the summer based on some of the conversations I had over there. But the key question for you, JK, who's going to win the Belmont Derby?
Yeah, I mean, it's a European shipper, but at least it's not Charlie Appleby who wins them all. So New Century for me, if you look through this group, there's only one grade 1 winner, and it's New Century. He's a winner of the Summer Stakes this summer, where he was with Andrew Balding, then switched to Brendan Walsh for our friends at Qatar Racing. And it's one of those situations where I've just been following the horse, right? I understand the horse's story. I thought he ran well enough last time. He's a horse that I think will appreciate a little bit of added ground as well. I'm a huge fan of New Century. I liked him in every race he's running in this country. He's only won one of them, so you take that for what it is. The other option I think would be Test Score, who's interesting to me, but like I don't love him. If I'm going to pick between the two, they're going to be similar prices. Give me New Century, and then Final Gambit is going to be overbet. This is a horse that people are going to get so excited about getting back on the turf, and Flying Mohawk, both. Anytime you have these horses that run in Derby races or Triple Crown races like the Derby, and they're supposed to be turf horses, but they're giving it a shot and they run well. Like that's how I think Final Gambit is. I think, and I'm working on trying to say this right for the Fox show on Friday. So this will be a little trial run at what the point I'm trying to make to see how much I'm gonna have to study to say it right. But basically with Final Gambit, what I think happened is they tried to stick a round peg into is it square peg, round hole? Square peg.
Square peg, round hole sounds
See?
better. You might be
So-
able to get the round one in the square hole. You're not going to get it's not going to work the other way around. So
This is why we're practicing. They try to get a square peg into a round hole. It just so happens that the square peg was small enough to fit into the round hole, and they said, "Oh wow, we have a round peg." No, he's not a dirt horse. He just ran well on that day as a dirt horse. Now I think the pegs aren't going to match. I just don't. I don't see. This is why I had to practice it because it's not.
Yeah, you were good till the end, but I mean, that implies that he should do better back on turf, which is not what you're trying to say. Yeah, you're gonna do that one yourself. You got homework.
Everyone's going to tune into the Fox show tomorrow, and I'm going to say, I don't think Final Gambit should run is a good price. I'm not going to say anything about pegs because it just seems like it's going to be too hard. But I just think he's going to be overbet, and while he might appreciate getting back on the grass, he's no slam dunk.
David Aragona much better at this game than either of us, but my gut says you're not going to see 5-2. You're going to see closer to 6-5 because that big race in the Derby just leaps off the page with that one. I'll put in a shout for Luther in this spot, the aforementioned foreign chipper. I think people are going to be put off by that French Derby run. I think it was just too far. I think it was a class test that he didn't quite pass. You go back to the Longchamp run to be a length and a quarter to Henri Matisse, who's obviously a Breeders' Cup champion and ran absolutely great, ran a blinder, as they say, in the St. James's Palace on opening day at Royal Ascot, to probably the most impressive turf miler in the world at this point, even though he's only a 3-year-old. I think that this Luther form is much better than it looks. I think he could get a little bit lost in the wagering off that ugly last running line, 6-1. He's an interesting contest type pick. For you, is it all about New Century and test score? Or did you have anything at a wild price for those reaching in contests?
No, that's it for me. I have a couple of price options later. I think you want to try to. I think that if you in contest $2 win plays, if you price hunt, you'll probably catch one. But then but someone else is going to catch that same horse. You needed a couple of other, crumbs elsewhere. Those crumbs for me will come in the form of like a Zulu Kingdom.
Right.
So I try to play what I like, but try to mix in some shorties with some longs.
Yeah, that makes sense. And ironically, you think about separators as being long shots, but in a contest where so many are inclined to play long shots, you might be able to separate with a Zulu Kingdom because he might actually be underrepresented in the context of the contest. Now, you got to be right about your bombs. That's the big caveat there. Let's see if we can find one before we get done talking about this Saratoga Friday card as we pivot to the Suburban. Going to have a big favorite here in the form of Locked. I'll ask it to you two different ways. In real life, is this a horse you're comfortable keying around in horizontal type wagers? And what would you do with Locked in the contest?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a win a grade 1 or grade 2, going 1.25 miles against lesser types horse. That's who I think Locked is. So he's getting that situation here. He's getting 1.25 miles. But for me, I just think he's going to be overbet. And I like two horses in here. One, I think for a longer price type, Disarm. I've just always been chasing him because of his impressive Travers. He ran such a good Travers, and he just hasn't ever really put it all together again. But he did a little bit at Oaklawn in March. So I'm hoping that maybe kind of get him going back in the right direction. And then Awesome Aaron, another one who just seemed to be going in the right direction for Norm Cassie, right? His last 2 races have been sensational. He's drawn really well. He gets IRAD, all the things that kind of make sense. Locked is going to take money. I'll probably pick Awesome Aaron. If I needed to go a little bit longer, I know it's a pick and pray. I would go with Disarm. So one of those two.
Gotcha. For me, I'm with you on Awesome Aaron's ability to potentially upset the apple cart in here. Just taking a quick look at this one's form, just in raging form at the moment. And as much as I have a knee jerk, does a practical joke really want to go this far? Notice sometimes with these speed sires, once their offspring get to be 6 years old, like Awesome Aaron is, they can sometimes get farther than you'd think just based on the blood. So definitely a contender to me. For the record, by the way, my official pick in terms of horizontals and whatnot is locked. But for the contest, I'm with you. You want to try to reach something at a little bit more of a price, perhaps. And a horse that I really do think loves the distance is number 1, Phileas Fogg, and should get a terrific trip out on or near the lead. Positive journey for that one. That might be my number 1 pick in terms of contest specifically, but I'll be playing around with those 3. One of my favorite races at Saratoga, it comes up next because it's named for my great friend and mentor, Harvey Pack. This is a terrific race year in and year out. It's a matter of time, I think, before this one gets graded. Very important position in this contest as well. Who's going to win the Harvey Pack this time around?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Surveillance. I think he's great for a contest like this. He's tried turf sprinting or tried the turf 7 times. He's won twice, once on not firm and once on firm, which shows a horse that can appreciate it. But also, like, when you have these horses that are switching hands, to me, they're different horses with different people. This horse is run a couple of really bang-up races for Linda. Linda obviously can win these types of turf sprints. She knows her way around the turf sprints at Saratoga. Our Shot, the 2, disappointed me last time. Mischievous Angel, the 1, I feel like wants to go a little bit longer. Mattingly, I don't think is fast enough. Outlaw Kid, I don't think is fast enough. Work for Me is a little bit interesting. The 6, I wouldn't talk anyone off of that one, but as another short price. And the rest of them, they don't move me. Witty, I think, took advantage of a race that fell apart last time and ground with give in it. I want to take a shot with Surveillance, putting blinkers on, and really is one of the only speedy types in here that has some pretty quick pace numbers. The rest of them, it's not very common when you see a turf sprint. You don't see a blazer. So I'll close my eyes and hope that one can get me home at a big number.
I hear you, and I had in the mix as well. Potentially interesting one at a price there. I put Bring the Band Home on top in this spot. This is a horse that's definitely, you didn't mention in your reckoning of the race, definitely going to be tested for class, but not too far out on figs. I think has a good post. I agree with you, not a ton of burners in the race. So this horse might just end up in the perfect attacking position. I like Outlaw Kid a little bit more than you. I think this is the kind of horse that maybe gets stretched a little at the more galloping 6 furlong turf sprint and is better, sharper. And I just think Pratt, in a rare case, didn't have the right idea last time, getting this horse a little bit lost early. Outlaw Kid could find himself in a really good spot. So yeah, 9, 5, 3. These are some of the numbers I'll be looking at. I do just need to say this, just because I want to be honest about this. I will make a pure hunch play and have something somewhere with number 8, Axthelm. And I'll tell you why. So what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago in this race when Thin White Duke won, in maybe that was the first running of the Harvey Pack, and it was just so appropriate that a Stephen Christ owned horse. Steve was very, very good pals and a regular guest on Harvey's shows. Having Steve Christ win the Harvey Pack, I mean, I was so thrilled at the result. It didn't matter that all my tickets blew up with Big Invasion. Not for the last time in that spot. But this time around, Axthelm, Pete Axthelm, that's who this horse is named after, the legendary sports broadcaster and writer, huge crony of Harvey Pack. I cannot have Axthelm win this race and not have at least a little something, even though I don't think the horse makes any sense on paper. Are you going to take away my my sharp better card for that one, JK?
No, absolutely not. It's insanity insurance for something that is near and dear. It makes a ton of sense to me.
Great stuff. We hope to see everybody over on horseplayers.com playing in this In the Money Horse Player Tour. Week in, week out, we are recapping contests and previewing and basically providing loads of info about these contests. Best way to keep track of that, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. We'll have links to full write-ups and all kinds of good stuff in there. You definitely want to subscribe, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. JK, people can watch you all weekend on Fox, it sounds like.
Yeah, all weekend. Yeah, I don't know when this is coming out, but basically we're on Big Fox on Friday for an hour for the 4th of July show. So that'll be fun.
That's great. And then, I mean, are you booked all no vacation for you? You're going to do every day of Saratoga?
Just dark days, baby.
And there's not too many of those. So yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you there. We'll have you on our airwaves as well. And as for you, the viewers, we're going to see you on the leaderboard.